What's up, football family? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show. I'm your host, PL Culture. It's week 14, everybody. So you know what that means? It means it's playoff time. Now, if you're watching this episode, congratulations on you making the playoffs. Made the playoffs as well. Pat on the back there. I told you in week one, if you stick with your boy, I'd have you in that fantasy football promised land. And here we are. So enough about me. Let's get to the task at hand. Now, if you're going into the first round of your playoffs this week, by and large, you pretty much have your studs and your duds either in your lineup or on your bench. It's those last few players, those third, maybe fourth wide receiver slash running back slash flex play options that may have you in a quandary as you have maybe a couple of legitimate players and you're not quite sure who to fill in those slots. Now, due to the one-and-done severity of these playoff games, it's important that we get those flex play options locked down and in your lineup correctly. And so guess what? I got you hooked up. All right, so let's get started. Now, number one, if you're looking for a flex play option or maybe a possible third running back option, you may want to take a look at Tampa Bay Buccaneers running back LeGarrette Blount. Now, as you can see by the jersey behind me, and all season I am a diehard Titans fan, and it pains me that we had to let this guy go because just as we suspected, he turned out to be a physical beast. And last week it absolutely proved it. He racked up over 100 yards and a touchdown against a very tough Falcons defense. And this week the matchup is even better as the Buccaneers take on the Washington Redskins in their 28th ranked run defense, giving up 137 yards a game. So if he's on your bench, put him in your flex play in your lineup. Also, you may want to take a look at Chicago Bears wide receiver Earl Bennett this week as a great flex play option. Now, if you hadn't noticed, Bennett has quietly put together a solid couple of weeks back-to-back, racking up 11 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. Now, also, their starting quarterback, Jay Cutler, his play has improved as well. He's increased the touchdowns and cut down tremendously on the turnovers, which is the reason why the Bears are on pace to make the postseason themselves. Now, going back even further, into the relationship of Bennett and Cutler. They were both teammates at Vanderbilt, and for all of the accolades and the highly celebrated career of Cutler being a first-round pick and a top quarterback taken by the Denver Broncos in that 2006 draft, his go-to receiver at Vanderbilt was Earl Bennett. So much to the fact that Bennett, being a wide receiver out of the smallest college in the SEC, finished with the SEC's all-time leading record in pass receptions. So it's really no secret that their chemistry carried over into the professional ranks as he's really become Cutler's go-to guy going down the stretch. Now, his matchup works well for you as well if he's in your lineup because he takes on the New England Patriots and their 31st ranked pass defense. They've already given up 21 touchdowns, and for as well as they've played, you can definitely rest assured that there'll be some lanes open in the passing game. If you put into effect as well of how hot Tom Brady and that offense has been for the Patriots, it looks like Cutler and Bennett will have plenty of opportunities to get you touches just to stay in the game. Now, staying with the wide receiver position, another great flex play option this week will be Roy Williams, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, as you know, Dez Bryant, their all-world rookie wide receiver slash return man, was put on IR with an ankle injury last week. So Williams will get to start this Sunday night against the Eagles and their 18th ranked pass defense. But more than the passing rankings of the Eagles defense, Williams has developed a much better chemistry with backup quarterback John Kitna than he ever had in 2 seasons or so with the starting injured quarterback Tony Romo. Now, he looks like a totally different person with Kitna in the lineup, and with the newly acquired interim coach, head coach Jason Garrett, Roy Williams has been targeted a lot more in the red zone with his size and his strength. So look for Williams to be targeted in the red zone again this Sunday night against the Eagles. And you can rest assured that the Eagles will put their stud shutdown cornerback Asante Samuel on Miles Austin, which will create some matchup difficulties for the Eagles defense with Williams. So definitely a red zone touchdown will be in the works for Williams this week which will definitely help you as a third, fourth wide receiver selection. Now, if you happen to get points for return yardage, a fantastic sleeper fantasy play that I'm sure is on your waiver wire this week will be Dexter McCluster for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, McCluster is their return man, slot receiver, do everything. He's a very explosive guy. He has big play capabilities. He's missed the last several weeks with an injury, but last week he came back and notched up over 100 total yards via the return game and receiving yards. Now, everything out of Kansas City's camp this week leads us to believe that he'll be more involved in the offense this week with maybe some gadget plays, maybe some bubble screens, maybe some reverses, just any type of way to get the ball into his hands. Also take into account the fact that the Chiefs are playing the San Diego Chargers and that potent passing attack from Phillip Rivers. Now, with Rivers and the San Diego Chargers needing this win to stay alive in the playoff race, you can expect plenty of fireworks from the Chargers offense. Plenty of fireworks from the Chargers offense leads to plenty of kickoff return opportunities from McCluster, who's very explosive in that area. Not to mention the fact that Kansas City wants to get him more involved in the offense as well, as we just stated. So from a combined total touches standpoint, if he returned 4 or 5 kicks at a 20-yard clip, there's your 100 all-purpose yards without him even touching the ball on offense. So he has a plethora of ways to get you points, and that's something that you may want to strongly consider, especially if you have any injuries going down late in the season. Now, speaking of the Kansas City Chiefs, that bridges us into our weekly Homer Alert pick. Now, if this is your first time watching the show, welcome to the playoffs, and shame on you. I'm just kidding. Actually, a brief description, our Homer pick is that player that you play week in and week out, regardless of the matchup and regardless of how he's played in the past, because of his name value and where you drafted him, presumably in the first 3 rounds. Now, making his playoff debut on the Homer Alert list would be Mr. Dwayne Bowe, wide receiver of the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, we all know that Bowe has been on a tear lately. Prior to last week, his previous 4 games, he racked up over 500 yards of receiving and 8 touchdowns. That's remarkable. Now, we also saw last week that he was blanked by Champ Bailey and the Denver Broncos defense. Had no catches, no yards, no nothing. Now, of course, I'm not implying that he'll be shut out for a second straight week because he is a very, very talented and capable wide receiver. But he has lost his starting quarterback this week to an appendix surgery. And so Matt Castle will more than likely be out. As of today, he's listed as doubtful. But no one is really considering him playing this week, which means Brody Croyle will take over the starting position. Now, you add that to the fact that San Diego brings in their number 1 ranked pass defense, and you have all the makings of a very dismal performance once again for Mr. Bowe. Now, if you have injuries on your reserve deck, then you'll have to play Bowe, but please proceed with caution and be on alert. Now, as we always do when we close the show, we'd like to wish you the best of luck this week in the playoffs. I certainly hope to see you next week for more advice. I certainly hope to be here to take my own advice next week as I've entered into my first round of the playoffs. As we close, life is a sport, so always play to win. It's your boy PL. I'm out. God bless.